Welcome to episode 3 of Momsley Podcast. This is where we have candid convos about the good, the bad, and the unexpected of motherhood, life, and relationships.
It's everything you're thinking, but don't necessarily want to say out loud. We are your hosts. I'm Krishel.
And I am Nyamekye.
How are you?
So last week we played a little game of Would You Rather. So since that went so well, I think we should do it again this week.
Let's do it.
Okay, so this week the prompt is, would you rather have noisy neighbors or nosy neighbors? I think you should go first.
Let me tell you, I would 1000% have nosy neighbors than noisy neighbors. Because my sleep is precious. I don't need no noise while I'm trying to go to sleep. And also, when I'm not here, I need my neighbors to know what's going on when I'm not here.
I can think that.
What about you?
Okay, for me, I feel like the one thing that annoys me the most about neighbors is people who are nosy. Like, I don't like people in my business. Like, I would rather live in the middle of nowhere where my neighbors are at least an acre away from me because I don't like people minding my business. I live in an apartment building now and I have nosy neighbors and I don't appreciate it at all. So I think I would rather have noisy neighbors because usually if they're playing music and stuff, you could close the window, close the door, and I don't really hear it. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother any of us in my house. Like, we'll sleep through a hurricane. So I think I will deal with the noise over the nosiness.
Not me. Later for that.
All right. So what are we talking about this week?
All right. So now I think we should take a little trip down memory lane. And so share one of the crazy stories we had growing up. You want to go first or you want me to start?
I think you should start.
Okay. So the story I'm going to share this week is the time that I pierced my brother's ears at home.
And what would possess you to do that?
Because he told me to. And I was in elementary school.
Elementary school and piercing his ears?
Yeah, so he was in like middle school.
He should have known better.
Or I might have been in middle school.
Okay, tell your story. I feel like this is a story of disaster.
It actually ends pretty well. So he comes to me, he's like, Krishel, I think I want my ears pierced. I'm like, all right. He's like, yeah, but I need you to pierce it for me. And I'm looking at him like, do you know what you're asking me? And so he's like, all right, this is what we're going to do. Cause he knows my mother's going to beat his ass as soon as she sees it. He knows. So he has to come up with a whole plan. So he was like, all right, this is what we're going to do. I already looked up how to do it, but I think tonight we should pretend like we did it to see what's going to happen.
Oh my God. I remember those days when you had to do like a little plan to see the reaction. Yes.
So he's like, all right, when mommy comes home, I'm going to be like real awkward. I'm going to have my hand over my ear, acting like I'm hiding something. And of course, she's going to be like, why is your hand over your ear? So he did that. And she said that. And I was like, Javon pierced his ear. And she was like, oh, really? You ever seen a football player like beeline to somebody and tackle somebody? She went through, they were standing in the hallway. She tackled him, ended up in the floor in his room.
What?
And he was like, I could take a tackle. So the next day we did it for real. So he got the ice. We were supposed to put a lemon, but we didn't have no lemon. So he cut up an apple and we put you put the ice first, numb the air, get the needle,
and
burn the tip
for
of the needle.
For flavor?
No, to hold the air steady.
Oh, I thought the lemon was supposed to like, I don't know.
Not flavor.
Do something else, like
so
cleanse it or something since it's
No, the
acid.
cleansing part comes in when you burn the tip of the needle to like sterilize. That's the sterilization process.
Oh, okay, got you.
So then we put the apple to like, hold it stable because you don't want the needle just like going through to the neck, So you put the apple, pierce it. The needle was hot, but I did it. And it looks good.
Does he still have that same piercing today?
Nah, he let it close.
How long did he wear it like that?
He kept it for a few years. He kept it for a few years.
Never than me. I think the Lord knows
I was scared.
why I was the youngest and why I didn't have like little siblings because I was not doing anything like that because I would have been scared for my life. So I would never even been doing the test run.
Well, I knew I wasn't going to get in trouble. I knew he was going to get in trouble. So I was good either way. And he felt like he could take a tackle. So, and the crazy part is the next day she didn't even tackle him. She was like, all right, stupid, when your ear get infected, don't say
as she should. All right, so the memory that I have is actually the two of us. And it was from like when we were, I don't want to say we were still in elementary school, but it was like one of those summers because you used to come to New York like every summer. And we were at my grandmother's house and my dad was like, oh, because our house was like on one corner, and then like the next corner over was the corner store. But if you stand on my front step, you could see the corner store.
Yeah.
So my dad was like, I need you guys to go to the store and get like 2 loaves of bread and like something else, because he was like making dinner or whatever. He had just came home from work. So me and Krishel, we get the money. We walk to the store, minding our business. On our way back, somehow the neighbor across the street from my house, his dog got out of the gate and yanked Krishel's slipper off her foot.
Off my foot. Right off my foot.
Off her foot. And we're sitting there trying to fight the dog, trying to get her slipper back. And there was no way we were going to get the slipper. So we just ran, and the dog started chasing us, and we had to like run in the yard, close the gate. We get back in the kitchen. My dad was like, what happened? Like, why do you only have one shoe on? We're like, we got attacked by this dog and we don't know what to do. And I don't know. That's just one of my like favorite memories of us, because I
thought my life was over.
She really did.
I thought my life was over.
And I thought her life was over. I froze for a second. I didn't know what to do. I'm like, should I try to get the slipper? Should I try to hit the dog? Like, I didn't know what to do.
It was funny after, but in the moment.
No, my life flashed before my eyes in the moment.
It was not good.
Yeah. So the main topic that we wanted to talk about today was saying certain things around kids. Well, it doesn't really have to do with parenting. It's just anyone in adults. Yes, yeah. In general, saying certain things around kids and how that can affect a child.
Yeah, subconsciously. Because, if you say something around a child, they may not necessarily understand the implication behind it, but they'll take it like sarcasm, for instance.
True.
You can say something sarcastically, but they take it literally.
Right. So growing up as a child, I feel like one of the things I hated most was people making fun of my name. Like, to this day, adults feel like it's okay to like say my name and make fun about it. And it still hurts my feelings, because at the end of the day, that's my name. That's the name that my parents chose for me.
Yeah.
I feel like my hair was always a topic of discussion. Like, if my hair wasn't to people's standards, if it wasn't laid properly, braided properly, I wore my hair in an afro, it was an issue. And most of the time, these comments were always coming from adults. And over the years, I feel like these comments eventually started to like mess with my self-esteem, because I'm like, well, my hair never looks right, or I'm self-conscious about my name. And most people, I don't even tell most people my real name because I just don't want to go through it.
Yeah, and it's never, we're dealing with adults, so they might not say, oh, your hair looks bad in an afro, but they might say something like, why did you do your hair like that today? And Exactly. Then you're looking at yourself like, well, does it look bad? Like, what, like, did I do it wrong? You start like questioning yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Or they'll look at you and they'll be like, well, what kind of hairstyle is that? Or something like that. Mm-hmm. And you're like, well, I thought it looked good up until you said something. Exactly. So what is the issue?
Exactly.
Like, so do you feel like it's possible that like adults can be somewhat bullies, but like they don't realize it? Like they're like, we always worried about like our kids going to school and having to deal with bullies at school. But then it's like, sometimes we overlook like, okay, sometimes adults are saying stuff to them that has more of a damaging effect and we don't even notice it.
Yeah, I think adults can absolutely be bullies, but I'm not going to say all the time, but majority of the time, I think they know what they're doing.
That's true.
Like, they're adults. They know, and I feel like that's also why they say it the way they do. They don't come out and say, I don't like your hair. Mm-hmm. I don't like what you're wearing. They'll be like, why did you put that on today?
Yeah.
Like, they try to throw it under because they know it's wrong mm-hmm. for them to be saying something like that. But also, they feel like they have
free will, I guess,
to say what they want.
Or it's like they think like they could just say whatever they want to a child because a child is not going to respond to them the same way that another adult will.
Mm-hmm. I think especially like in our teenage years, when we start like exploring with our hairs, exploring with like our style, trying to figure ourselves out. That's when it's really
like you get a lot of criticism. Like I remember in high school, like I struggled so much with my hair because I'm like, I honestly didn't know what to do with my hair. At one point I had my hair permed from like, I want to say like the 5th grade up until like, I think my freshman year of high school, I permed my hair every 6 weeks, every 2 months, whatever it was. And then for a while I was like, well, I don't want to perm my hair anymore, but I didn't really know how to transition into like the natural hair. Mm-hmm. So I stopped perming my hair. Of course, my hair broke because you can't just stop perming your hair and just go natural. You either got to cut it a little bit or trim it as you go, or go take it all off and start all over again. I didn't know what I was doing. So, of course, my hair was damaged. So then I was like, you know what, forget this. I'm going to start perming my hair again. And it was like, I got comments from people all the time when I was trying to go about wearing my hair in the natural state. And like, even to this day, it bothers me. Like now I'm like fully natural. My hair is in the afro like 90% of the time. And I don't know, like, I feel like the comments that were made back then still affects me today. Cause like, I won't go out the house with like just a straight afro. Like, I feel like my hair has to be styled somehow.
Yeah. And I think especially for brown children, when we have very textured hair. Yeah. And for a lot of us, especially in our generation, during a certain time, it was like, come perm your hair, let's go. It's perm day.
Right.
And then at a certain point, I feel like a lot of us were like, I don't want to perm my hair, or whatever the case was. For me, like I permed my hair for probably the 3 years I was in middle school, or maybe the first two, 6th and 7th grade. And every time, it never changed. Every time my scalp burned. It didn't matter if we kept it on for 3 times less. If we put Vaseline on my scalp beforehand, my scalp burned. Like, my hair's just not made for perms. But also during that time when I stopped perming my hair, I didn't know how to take care of my natural hair. So,
which is something that a lot of us don't know how to do. Like, I feel like we just started like in our 20s, like figuring it out, and it took years. Like, I feel like now, after being natural for almost 10 years, like the last year or two is when I finally figured out like what works for my hair and what doesn't.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Let me tell you, I've spent so much money on natural hair products because I'm like, well, I need this and I need that. And now I probably use like 2 products on my hair and that's it. And my hair does just fine.
Right.
Flourishing.
Water and 2 products is all you need. And stay hydrated.
Exactly.
Right.
But
yeah, I feel like adults should definitely be mindful of the things that they say to kids and about kids. Because sometimes I feel like they say stuff and they're trying to aim it at the parent. But then at the same time, they're hurting the kid's feelings and they don't know it.
The child is hit in the crossfire.
Right.
Even though it's not meant for them, it's still affecting them.
Yeah,
it's still being directed towards them.
Yeah, people need to just learn to be less judgmental, mind your business. Don't make comments about people's hair, their weight, what they do with... Unless they're harming their children, there really is no need for you to comment on anything that they do with their kids. Right. You don't like the way they dress their kids, just don't say anything. You don't have to tell that child a thing.
It's their kid. Unless it's cold outside on a snowy day and they're in like short sleeves or something.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Unless the child is in
extreme
danger.
Situation.
Right. Like, there's just mind your business.
Just keep your comments to yourself. Feel how you feel with yourself. All right. So sometimes parents, I think they feel like sometimes they may feel like their intention is good, even though it doesn't come off that way. So that makes me think about this, like Britney Spears conservatorship thing. Like the dad. Well, let's talk about Britney first of all. The changes that we've seen over the years. Yeah,
I remember like hearing my first Britney Spears song when I was like a child.
Yeah,
and then
baby,
it was like, that's the Britney that I knew.
Yes.
And then I feel like I don't really know who Britney is after that. Like after she had her kids and met her husband and got divorced, like I really don't know who Britney is after that.
Yeah, I remember pretty vividly like her being on the news a lot and everybody's like, Britney's going crazy.
Yeah,
like,
I remember seeing the clip, Clara's Day, when she shaved her head off. I remember that.
But to see that transition and then to see where we are today with her in this conservatorship,
it's crazy.
It's like, is she in this conservatorship for her own good or is it for everyone else's good? And they're trying to make it seem like, oh no, I mean well, even though it may not look that way, but really they're just looking out for themselves.
That's what it
like
seems
her
like.
dad.
Yeah.
I know there's other people in the conservatorship too.
But he seems to have like the most control from what I hear.
Yeah. And you would think, being that that's her dad, he would be standing up for her
and have her best interest at mind.
Right.
But at least it seems that it started out that way, but it's not ending up that way.
It doesn't seem that way anymore.
No. So it's like, from the research that I've done, it's saying that she's been under this conservatorship since she was about age 26, 27.
Wow.
And now she's 39 years old.
That's crazy.
Yes, it's insane. But I also wanted to look up what a conservatorship was, because I know there's a lot of people who are confused about what it may or may not be. And basically, it's a court case where a judge appoints a responsible person or an organization known as a conservator to care for another adult, called a conservatee, who cannot care for themselves or herself or manage his or her own finances. And that's according to the courts.california.gov. So the definition in itself is basically saying, it's basically somebody who can't care for themselves, can't take care of themselves, can't handle their own finances. From what I see, she seems to be more than able to take care of herself. Can she not?
Right, because even when initially, years and years ago, when she was put in an institution, I feel like that may have been for a single incident that happened. So I feel like once she went through her treatment and then came out, what was the reason for continuing that?
I do remember that now that you mention it. Yeah, exactly. Because if she went through treatment, it should, even if they still felt like she would, clearly she was well enough to leave the treatment facility.
Right.
So, but I feel like she left on the terms that she would be under this conservatorship.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I feel like that was the terms that were set in place.
That's crazy, because I'm not understanding, because even if she did have this mental break or whatever the situation is, like, in my eyes, from the outside looking in, obviously I don't know, but from the outside looking in, it's like, well, let's remove the causative factor, which would be her in this entertainment industry,
right?
She's the face.
Been doing it since she was a child.
Exactly.
She was really young when she started out on like Nickelodeon and all that stuff.
Right. So if anything, it would seem like the obvious thing to do was to remove her from that.
You have to take a break at least.
Exactly. But it seems like this conservatorship, it's like, oh no, she needs to work. And what is that work? To be in front of people, put it on shows and things like that. But at the same time, it's like, these people looking at you sideways like, sis, blink twice.
Yeah, because I feel like she didn't take a break. She might have only taken a break when she was in the treatment facility, because she's been going from God knows how long. Like, I don't ever think of a time when I didn't hear Britney Spears having a show or a concert or anything.
And under the conservatorship, that money isn't even going to her. No. It's being spread out between all of them.
True. So
she can't even say, well, I'm going to work at least and then make my money and do as I please with it.
Right.
It's like, I'm going to work, they're going to make the money, and they're going to do as they please, as they see fit for me.
Right. Well, in one of the articles that I read, she said, and I quote, "I feel ganged up on, I feel bullied, and I feel left out and alone." And she says, "I'm tired of feeling alone. All I want is to own my own money and for this to end." She's like, from what I see, she's like literally a prisoner in her own home and a prisoner in her own life. She has no free will. She doesn't have a say in anything that she doesn't want to do. It's all being decided for her.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that draws me to like my next thought. It makes me want to know like where do you draw the line between being a protective parent versus abuse? Because it seems like her dad is in charge of this conservatorship, but it seems like she's working so hard. She's constantly providing, but she's not reaping any of the benefits.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, you're not well enough to care for yourself. They're saying you're not well enough to be in control of your finances, but you're well enough to continue to do everything that contributes to that.
Right.
That doesn't make sense to me.
And usually when people have like a mental break, the first thing that they would do is stop doing like stressful activities. They may take some time off of work. Mm-hmm. They may like stuff like that. Like they don't continue working throughout their mental break.
Exactly.
And that's like the one thing that they just keep pushing on her. Like, okay, you gotta keep doing these tours. You gotta keep hosting these Vegas shows because, you know, that's bringing the money in for all of us.
Exactly. And I don't know if you guys saw the documentary that came out with them pretty much like piecing everything together over the timeline. But there was one point where they recorded a meeting of dealing with her. For one, she wasn't even in the meeting. And secondly, they were making decisions without her. And I think the topic of, oh, well, we're scheduling this on her birthday. And her dad's like, okay, schedule it. Like, why are we even mentioning her birthday? And it's like, does she want to work on her birthday?
Right. I know I don't.
Right.
Every year the calendar comes out January 1st. By January 2nd, I already took my birthday off. And my birthday's not until December. So I can't imagine why anybody would want to willingly work on their birthday. Or at least not even have the option to say, like, I don't want to work on my birthday. I'd rather spend time with my family.
Right. And so that, like, little things like that make it seem like truly money is at the center of this all.
Yeah.
But I think there is a very fine line between being abusive and being protective. In general, there's a fine line. But also, I think people intentionally take advantage of that.
Right.
And say, well, like in her situation, the dad, he's like, well, I have the upper hand, so I'm going to milk that cow until it runs dry.
It makes me even wonder, does she have, it makes me wonder, if, this conservatorship ends, will she find out that, all her money's gone or something? Like, they've all blown it somehow. Because it just doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
Because usually when there's other people in charge of your finances, stuff usually ends up coming up missing. Or taxes ended up getting messed up. Mm-hmm. So it makes me wonder, are they being truthful with everything that they're doing with her money? Because not only does she sing, Britney has, I don't know if she still does, but she had a perfume line. Mm-hmm. She has a whole bunch of stuff. So, it's not like just singing is the one thing that's bringing money in for her and her family. But where's this money going? And why can't she have control over if she wants to go on a vacation tomorrow, she does not have the free will to say, I'm going to get on a plane and go to the Bahamas.
Right. And with that documentary, another thing that came up was her Instagram. And it's very eerie. And so one of the posts, I think she was on vacation somewhere out the country. Mm-hmm. And the caption was like, look, I'm on vacation. I can go wherever I want to go. I'm having fun, things like that. Mm-hmm. It's almost like she's being coached to say, stand in front of this camera, smile, tell them you're having fun, tell them you chose this destination. But then there's other posts where she just looks completely out of it.
I think I briefly saw something and they were saying that she is under, where is it? Oh, it's saying that she alleged that she was overworked without breaks, medicated with lithium, and prohibited from having more children after her conservators did not allow her to remove her birth control device. Decisions, she said, were approved by her father and co-conservator Britney Spears, which is her little sister.
Yeah, it's really, because the thing is, mental health is real. So I do believe there are people who need that guidance and need decisions to be made for them.
I'm sorry. Sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt you. Mm-hmm. Jamie Spears is her father. I'm sorry.
Jamie is her father, yes.
Mental health is real.
Yes. And so there are people who do have mental health problems and they need people to make those decisions for them. Mm-hmm. But throughout this whole thing, I have yet to see anything, and maybe I need to dig a little deeper, but I feel like I shouldn't need to dig that deep if they're going this hard for it. Mm-hmm. But what exactly is she being diagnosed with? What are they saying? Because I also feel like this conservatorship thing shouldn't be ongoing. It should be evolving. Mm-hmm. So after a certain point in time, are they saying that nothing's changing or nothing's getting better? So why is this conservatorship continuing? Yeah,
is there a specific timeline? Okay, by the first year, if we see these improvements, then we can lighten this conservatorship. And if not, okay, by year 2, is there a yearly check-in to see what improvements or what's getting worse in her situation?
Exactly.
I'm trying to figure out what exactly they're trying to say her mental diagnosis is.
Because all I keep hearing them say is, oh, she had this mental breakdown. She had this mental breakdown.
Yeah, but what is it? Because anybody can have a mental breakdown and be fine after. Like, it's okay.
Right. And again, like I said, it seems like the cause of it was just her being in the spotlight all the time.
Right. And at that point, her relationship with her ex-husband was like on the rocks. And she had 2 children back to back.
Yeah.
And having one child can play a huge part on this postpartum. There's postpartum anxiety, there's postpartum depression. Like, there's all these things that can go wrong. And a lot of women don't know how to express that. Like, they feel like they have to suffer in silence. And yeah, she has money. She could go see any doctor that she wants. But if you don't know how to voice what's wrong with you, and a lot of women don't even know that they're going through postpartum or whatever the case is until like after that cloud clears.
Right.
And then you look back and you're like, I really wasn't myself for like the first year or 2 after I had my child. So I can't imagine what she was going through, living in the spotlight, having 2 kids back to back, and then continuing to have to live in the spotlight and work.
Yeah, and her life was literally being played out in front of the world. Like, she couldn't retreat and just say, okay, let me take some time to deal with this, figure out what's going on with myself, things like that. Like, her life was constantly
There wasn't a time in the early 2000s when all of this happened that I didn't hear about Britney Spears on the TV or in a magazine article. It was always something about Britney Spears. Always.
Yep.
You found out she was pregnant. That was on the news. Oh, she's pregnant again. And then I'm pretty sure I remember hearing like things like people like criticizing her for having the kids back to back. And I'm like, she's a married woman. She can do what she pleases.
Exactly.
So I don't understand why, like, what's going on with the conservatorship. Like, and I feel like the judge denied the claims to the request to get it removed, but he didn't really give a clear reason on why.
Yes. That was another thing. The recent ruling denying the request, it's almost, what is the reasoning behind it? I feel like there's a lot of things that hasn't been revealed, and maybe it would make more sense to us if it was revealed, but I feel like there's a lot of things being kept secret from the public. And
are they keeping things a secret for her well-being because they know something that they don't want to reveal to the public, or are they keeping it a secret because they want to cover their own asses?
Right.
Like, we'll never know.
Exactly.
There was another part where Britney was saying that she feels like it's oppressive and it's a controlling tool being used against her. And I can definitely see how that, because like we said before, she literally cannot, she has to ask permission to do anything. To go on. I remember seeing something on her Instagram about her having to ask permission to even go on a date.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh, and you mentioned the Instagram post earlier, and it reminded me, I remember one time, somehow I ended up on her page, and I was like watching her videos. Like, the most common theme with her Instagram page is like her doing like dance moves or whatever on her page. Yeah. And in one of the videos, a lot of the fans in the comments were like, oh, Britney, like, if you need help, then wear an orange shirt tomorrow. And then the next video, she was wearing an orange shirt. But then it's like, we're not getting the full story to know what's really going on, because like, is she really not okay? Or is she really not okay in the sense that like she really is struggling mentally? But even if it's the latter, even if she is struggling mentally, why is she still performing and doing all these things? Like, her mental health should be the number one priority.
Exactly. If that truly is the case, why is she still in the spotlight? It's almost like they want her to remain relevant so that she can continue to make money elsewhere. Because of that, why is she still in the spotlight if she truly has this mental illness? Why is she still in the spotlight?
Well, to play devil's advocate, I guess. Maybe she's still in the spotlight because really, if she is suffering from like some kind of mental illness and they're trying to keep her well-being, maybe performing is like the one thing that they can let her do without, like, I guess, it having any kind of backlash, I guess you can say. Because if she wants to have kids, like, clearly, maybe they're thinking like, okay, having kids and the stress, and if she's on medications, then she'll probably have to come off the medications to become pregnant, and that might change her stability mentally. So maybe that could play a factor. Like, the possibilities are endless because nobody knows.
Yeah.
Like, there could be reasons why she is still in the spotlight that we'll really never know.
Yeah.
Like that could just really be the one thing that like she can do that'll like help keep her together, I guess.
Maybe.
But I don't know. I would like to know. So if you know Britney personally, call me so I can figure it out.
Let us know what's going on.
Because I need to know if we need to go and get her or not.
Britney, we on the way.
Right. I keep seeing all these videos and people are like, oh, practicing how to go kick down the door and save Britney Spears. And I can't imagine, like, if she literally cannot leave her house at her own free will, like, a lot of her money is probably just going to security to make sure that she is going to places that she needs to go and staying in the places that she needs to go without venturing off to somewhere else.
I can see that.
But I also don't see how locking her, like keeping her away from the public per se, other than when she's performing, is helping her mental health. Well, I guess it could, because when the backlash from when she shaved her head off, like the media was nasty to her.
Yeah, they were.
So I could see in a way how you could want to like keep her away from that. But I don't know at this point if they're doing it because they care about her well-being or if it's because she's bringing in so much money, so we're just going to keep her working. Because that's like the one good thing that she's good at.
From the outside looking in, that's what it seems like. But like you said, we don't know everything. We don't know why the judge is making the decisions.
Right.
So as your children get older and, they start exploring the world more, they start dating and things like that, how do you think your parenting will change to protect them, but not necessarily have it cross that line towards like abusive?
Yeah, where I'm like trapping them in the house.
Right.
I honestly think about that every day, and I honestly don't know how I'm going to handle that. I feel like that's one of those things that I have to like test the waters when I get there kind of thing, because I really don't know what I'm going to do. I'm not ready for that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, I don't know. Like, because a big part of me wants my children to be able to have their own experiences so that they can learn, because not everything can be taught. Like, yeah, we can sit down and have conversations about things that I've been through. We can sit down and have conversations about things that are yet to come that we can foresee. But also, it's nothing like going through it yourself.
Right.
But you still want to protect them because,
I mean, at the end of the day, like they say, kids are going to be kids. Because I'm sure there's stuff that our parents, well, I'm not sure. I know there's things that our parents told us not to do. And we still had to go find out for ourselves why they told us not to go do it. So I feel like the key thing is to make sure that like when you're sending your kids out there, when they start dating, when they start making friends, and that one friend is a little shady, and you told them like, I told you about that one friend, but you didn't want to listen. You gotta let them figure it out on their own, but be there to like comfort them.
Yeah.
I feel like you shouldn't be like, I told you. You don't listen to me, because then that just brings like a negative, like they're not going to come to you and tell you anything, because it'd be like every time something happens, you always react this way.
I think that's the most important thing, the rapport that you have with your child.
Right.
So that even if they're thinking about doing something, they'll come to you and be like, hey, like, I'm thinking about doing this. I'm thinking about going to this place with my friend. They said this was going to be happening there.
Right.
Or if they don't talk to you about it beforehand, and something that maybe that we don't approve of, they'll come to us later and be like, hey, I just want to let you know, like, this is what happened.
Right.
So, yeah, I think the rapport with your child is going to be the most important thing.
Of course. And I think that starts from like when they're young.
For sure.
The way you talk to them, like when they're young, is going to transition into when they're teenagers. Because even if they do something stupid as a teenager, they'll still feel comfortable enough to come to you and not feel like, oh, my mom's, I mean, I might kill you, but I'm not going to kill you that bad.
Yeah.
But at least have the rapport so that they want to come and tell you things.
Right.
So that definitely stems from baby all the way up. You start from young. So they come out the womb.
Yeah, because even as a young child, as young children, I feel like I have to pick my battles with my kids. Like, I don't want to continuously be nagging and like, no, don't do that. Why are you doing that? Don't do that.
And it's hard.
It's hard because we're trying to protect them.
Right. But
also it's like, you got to pick your battles, let them learn. Like earlier today, my youngest one, was playing with her cousin and they were jumping off of the bed. And there was a few near misses. There was a few. And I was like, I've been telling them for the past 2 days, like, don't do that.
Yeah.
And so today you're just going to learn. Nothing happened, thankfully, but it's like, sometimes you just have to.
And honestly, even if something did happen, they would have cried. And then tomorrow they would have still went back jumping on it.
Yeah.
Because that's just kids.
Exactly.
So you definitely have to pick your battles.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys bumped heads? You guys okay? All right, because they'll be back at it again tomorrow.
Exactly. Same thing again.
Yes. And then also for you have to watch your, like, tone is a very important thing. I always say it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
For sure.
Because you could tell the kids, stop jumping on the bed. Or you could be like, guys, don't jump on the bed because you might get hurt.
Exactly.
And it'll make a world of a difference.
Yes. And I think that just how you gave that example, sometimes explaining to them why you're saying what you're saying instead of just giving them a command. Like, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, mom is being
Yeah, because then they get curious, like, why is she telling me not to do this? And they're going to do it anyways.
Exactly. And if you tell them, stop jumping off the bed because you can hurt yourself and then you'll be sad, they're like, man, I'm not trying to hurt myself. I'm just trying to have fun.
Right.
So maybe I can do something else.
Exactly.
Okay, so I think as that pertains to Britney Spears, I think maybe early on when they started seeing the signs, because I don't believe this is something that just happened overnight.
Oh, no.
So I feel like when her family started seeing the signs of like, things are starting to get a little different.
Yeah.
That's when they should have intervened and maybe tried to pull her back from the spotlight and, have her deal with whatever was going on as it happened, instead of her now having this explosive outbreak,
right?
And you can't reel her back in.
Literally, because it was like when she shaved her head, and then it was like she was crying, like she was screaming for help. Mm-hmm. Not literally, but like her actions were like screaming for help, and maybe that was the only way she could get everybody's attention.
Yeah,
and she got it.
Right.
So,
it's like at that point it may have been too late.
Right. So her family should have definitely try to look at the signs earlier, and maybe they did try to have conversations with her, but maybe, like I said, maybe it could have been the tone of the conversation. You have to know your kids and how to have certain conversations with certain children.
Yeah, and based off of that documentary, it seems like when she started touring and traveling more often, her parents weren't around. Mm-hmm. So I think they lost that opportunity to get to know her and understand her world. I think they were still living in their world, right, and she was going into a new world. Right. So they were clashing just based off of that alone because they didn't understand each other.
Right.
So yeah, I think that probably didn't help either.
So moral of the story is pay attention to your children. Mm-hmm. Be careful what tone you use around them, and be careful what you say around them, because kids will hold on to things until they are adults.
Absolutely.
And you may wonder, why do certain adults do the things that they do? It could be some trauma from childhood.
Mm-hmm. And it may not even be something that they're like, oh, this adult said this to me, or this person did this to me. It can just fall into the subconscious. Yep. And they don't know why they feel that way about themselves. They don't know why they look at themselves the way that they do, but it all stems back to somebody said something to them at a young age and it just stuck.
Yep. And it just becomes that little voice in the back of your head, and it just keeps repeating and repeating and repeating. And in some people's cases, it turns out that they have a mental break. And some people, it just causes habits that they carry on with them for the rest of their lives, and they don't know why they act that way.
Yeah.
And, we want to thank you guys again for listening to another episode and making it this far.
Yes.
And if you like what you hear, make sure you leave us a review and rate our podcast. And this week, our weekly mantra is, I am grateful for all that is unfolding in my life and all that is yet to come. I'm going to repeat that one more time.
Say it again.
I am grateful for all that is unfolding in my life and all that is yet to come.
Yes.
Amen.
So if you want to stay updated on everything Momsley, remember to follow our Instagram page at MomsleyPod. That's MOMSLYPOD. And we have gone visual, so follow us on YouTube at Momsley Podcast.
Yes.